At the hospital, Ji-Hoon was seen handling one of his patients. This time, he was seeing a patient with a tendency to attempt self-harm. Through his hypnosis abilities, Ji-Hoon applied it to the patient. During his practice hours, Ji-Hoon also often takes time to chat leisurely with other doctors such as Jeon-ki. They appear to be very close, and Jeon-ki doesn't hesitate to tell his love story to his doctor. Not only does Ji-Hoon fulfill his duties as a doctor, but he also frequently gives lectures on hypnotherapy, particularly in the medical field. Interestingly, when Ji-Hoon wanted to show his hypnosis act, suddenly a student named Yuri offered herself as the object of the act. The hypnosis act was performed, and all the students there were amazed by the psychiatrist's expertise. After carrying out his duties as a lecturer on a campus, Ji-Hoon returned to his apartment. However, he stopped his car when Ji-Hoon saw the student approaching his car. She wanted to treat her to a meal for volunteering for the hypnosis act earlier. She also gave an excuse that she admires Ji-Hoon's abilities. At the same time, Jeon-ki, who is not very good at relationship, was seen having a meal with his new girlfriend, Hyun-Jin. Despite being in a relationship, their interaction appears to be very stiff. Even the romantic dinner was disrupted by Hyun-Jin's own thoughts. It was then revealed that Hyun-Jin often hallucinates the appearance of a woman who often disturbs her. Hyun-Jin, unable to bear the appearance of that figure, finally decided to leave the place. She seemed not to care about his own boyfriend, who was also there. Then, Ji-Hoon and Jeon-ki were together at the hospital. In a conversation, Jeon-ki said that his girlfriend would soon come for consultation with Ji-Hoon regarding her recurring problems. It was then revealed that the woman had multiple personalities. To make matters worse, Hyun-Jin also often hallucinates, making her increasingly dangerous. For that reason, Ji-Hoon advised Jeon-ki to stay away and forget about Hyun-Jin as much as possible. According to him, the mental illness is quite dangerous and could harm Jeon-ki. Instead of following the advice of his doctor friend, Jeon-ki became even more sympathetic and reluctant to let go of his girlfriend. She, who was supposed to continue her work, felt as if she was being watched and constantly disturbed by her own hallucinations. Feeling uneasy with her condition, Hyun-Jin consulted with Ji-Hoon. But in this meeting, Ji-Hoon applied hypnotherapy to Hyun-Jin. He argued that he must first know the other personality of Hyun-Jin. Through a ritual usually performed by Ji-Hoon, Hyun-Jin was finally brought into her subconscious. Interestingly, Hyun-Jin, who suddenly changed into a different person, suddenly started to unbutton one by one. Hyun-Jin even said that Ji-Hoon's eyes looked very sharp when looking at her body. Strangely, hearing Hyun-Jin's statement, Ji-Hoon seemed embarrassed as if she was really very interested. Ji-Hoon immediately ended the consultation session by bringing Hyun-Jin back to consciousness. As before, Ji-Hoon also stated that Hyun-Jin's mental condition must receive more serious attention. For this reason, he asked Hyun-Jin to come back for another consultation at a different time. In accordance with the previously made promise, the meeting between Hyun-Jin and Ji-Hoon was conducted again. This time, they met at a park near the hospital. Both of them began to look quite familiar, with Ji-Hoon constantly delving into his patient past. This is where it was discovered that Hyun-Jin's hallucination and change in behavior started since her ex-boyfriend ended his life. Because of this, she felt very guilty, especially since she was deeply in love with her ex-boyfriend at the time. In short, the meeting between Ji-Hoon and Hyun-Jin has changed Ji-Hoon's feelings. He, who was previously repelled by Hyun-Jin's behavior, gradually became interested in her. Ji-Hoon continuously thinks about the figure of Hyun-Jin. He imagines her when he teases her, and even imagines having romance with her. This thought eventually drives Ji-Hoon to take advantage of Hyun-Jin's other personality. On a different day, the meeting between Hyun-Jin and Ji-Hoon becomes her last therapy session because her mental condition was deemed to have improved. However, this became a burden for Ji-Hoon, as he, who had already become attracted to Hyun-Jin, didn't want to lose his patient so easily. Under hypnosis, Hyun-Jin begins to be touched by Ji-Hoon. Seemingly not wanting to lose the opportunity, Ji-Hoon cunningly starts to deceive Hyun-Jin's subconscious. He gives her the suggestion that every Sunday at 3 p.m., she will feel restless and depressed, and only he can bring happiness to her. And indeed, exactly as Ji-Hoon had predetermined, Hyun-Jin, who was working on her homework, suddenly became overwhelmed with feelings of restlessness and only had Ji-Hoon on her mind. With that drive, Hyun-Jin unconsciously visited Ji-Hoon and eventually with the psychologist had been hoping for happen. Instead of feeling guilty for exploiting his patient unawareness and betraying his friend, Ji-Hoon hypnotized Hyun-Jin again by giving her the suggestion to be more enthusiastic next week and forget all the recent events after they had finished their romance. Since then, the psychologist has been enjoying every moment of his meetings with Hyun-Jin. On a different day, Ji-Hoon was suddenly approached by one of his students, who turned out to be Yori. The woman had approached Ji-Hoon to collect on a promise to have a meal together. Regardless of what was in the mind of that evil psychologist, he, upon realizing Yori's attraction towards him, immediately invited her to drink at his apartment, and it went on from there. You all know what happened next, I don't need to tell you. However, this time he didn't have to hypnotize Yori. From that moment on, Ji-Hoon's feeling toward Hyun-Jin started to change. Besides feeling bored with Hyun-Jin, it was also because there was Yori, who was, in his opinion, was more beautiful. Ji-Hoon was even heartless enough to leave Hyun-Jin alone in his apartment. He only did this because Yuri invited him to go out together, and eventually Ji-Hoon also released the suggestion that he had given to Hyun-Jin. At a different time, Ji-Hoon, who found his soulmate in Yori, appeared to be preparing all the necessities for their wedding. Both of them look very happy because they will soon be getting married. The scene switched to Hyun-Jin. She is now gradually getting over her hallucination and is seen working on a doll. Surprisingly, Jong-ki, who showed her the engagement ring, changed Hyun-Jin's personality. The woman seemed to remember her dark past when she was with her ex-boyfriend after seeing the ring brought by Jong-ki. Whatever was in the woman's mind, Hyun-Jin suddenly grabbed a knife and repeatedly stabbed Jong-ki. As a result, the man died tragically. Oddly enough, Hyun-Jin, who at once felt regretful and looked very sad seeing Jong-ki's condition, is now driven to visit Ji-Hoon. As if the influence of the suggestion given by the evil psychologist hasn't fully disappeared, and she really needs Ji-Hoon's presence to give her happiness like before. Elsewhere, Ji-Hoon was shocked by the appearance of Hyun-Jin. How could he not be? The woman he once pursued came with blind gaze and a body covered in apple syrup. Ji-Hoon then followed Hyun-Jin's request to come to her place. To Ji-Hoon's surprise, he thought Hyun-Jin was happy with her life but instead found the figure of a dead Jong-ki covered in apple juice. Soon after, a commotion took place between Ji-Hoon and Hyun-Jin. With her mischievous personality taking control, Hyun-Jin surprisingly managed to deceive Ji-Hoon and knock him unconscious. At the end of the film, Ji-Hoon was seen hanging with a number of ropes. The ropes were not just tied to his body, but were sewn directly into the skin of the doctor like a doll. The woman also said that Ji-Hoon will now always be with her and make her life always happy. And the film ends.